Hi, I'm Sandy, and welcome to Life with Sandy. Well, good morning. Another early morning. Today is Tuesday, October 25th, and we have birthdays today. I tried not to get my steering wheel in the picture, but my holder is giving me a little bit of issues today, and you can see you're probably bouncing. I don't know what's going on with it. But today is Melissa Collins' birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Melissa. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. It's also Angela, and the name of her channel is Angela My Life. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Angela. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. It's also Charlene Bordelon, Bordelon, Charlene Bordelon. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Charlene. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. And it's also Sherry, Cherie. Today's Sherry's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sherry. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. Well, I hope you all have a great birthday. As you can see, it's very sunny. It's about 9:30 in the morning. Usually this is my laying in bed chillaxing time of the day. But I wanted to go over to see Jim in the hospital. Not good news about Jim. We were hoping he was going to come home today. His potassium levels were really low yesterday, and they had to put 5 bags of potassium supplements on his IV. Each bag, not all at one time, one at a time, but each bag took 2 hours. And he had a slight improvement this morning on his blood work, but not enough that it was substantial, so he's still got another ordeal or whatever, duration of putting more bags on today. So he's thought, I'll put the bags on and then I'll probably still come home today, because that was our hope. He was going to come home today. I was hoping that this was the drive that was going to say you're going to see Jim in the passenger seat coming home. That's not happening. So they did this. Here's a picture to show you what they did now. He was not a happy camper when they put that in him. The nurse tried the other day because she thought that would relieve some of the excess gas and stuff like that, but Jim has a deviated septum, so she couldn't get past. She tried 3 times on each nostril, and Jim said it was worse than a COVID test. It hurt. Not that it was painful, but very uncomfortable. And she couldn't get it in. So then when the doctor came in this morning, he said, well, we're going to have to get that in. And so Jim just told him that, well, we tried it the other day and it didn't work. And so he said, well, we're going to try it again. But so then he put some numbing medication up his nose. Jim said he could still feel the tube going in, but it didn't hurt as much as when the nurse was doing it. So they got it in. So the plan of attack now is for him to have that in his nose for a couple days. Now, a couple days, does that mean today and tomorrow? Or does that mean like today, tomorrow, and Thursday? Jim doesn't ask very many questions. I would be asking 1,000,001 questions. I'd have a little notebook to the side. I'd have all that good stuff so I would know exactly what was going on. And I'd be writing down everything he said. I'll give Jim to his credit. The other day, he put the doctor on speakerphone. And the doctor was like very thorough. He talked with me and Jim on the phone for like 20 minutes and, answered all of our questions. We did rule out a lot of things. So if this doesn't work, then Jim's going to need surgery. So Jim says, does that mean I'm going to have to wear a bag? And he said, I'm telling you that I don't anticipate that happening. But then again, it depends on when we get in to see just exactly how much damage it is. But I am in no hurry to do surgery. I think that this is going to work. I'm going to try everything I can to make surgery the very absolute last resort. And he said, and I just think it's just a matter of getting in there and clearing up the scar tissue, because I really think that's all that the problem is. But, like on an x-ray, it's hard to tell exactly what the absolute problem is. Now that was a move. That was a move. When you're out here driving every day, you get to see all the different moves. I don't usually drive this much. And you'd think after all these days, I'd be, you know what, Sandy, this is a breeze. Why were you so worried about driving all the time? I still hate it. I absolutely, positively hate it. It's just, I just put this on the top 10 list, and this would be close to number 1 of things I do not like to do in life. And I do not like to drive, especially this. I will admit that now that I'm driving it every day, and I'm more familiar with the drive, I was going to say it gets easier, but it really doesn't. But it is getting a little bit easier. It does seem a little bit quicker because, well, especially when I'm talking with you guys, it kind of passes the time of day. So, not that you guys are just passing the time of day. You guys mean a lot to me, but it does make the drive a little bit quicker. Because after I sign off with you, then I only have another half hour to go, so that makes it a little bit easier for me. But anyway, what was I going to say? So we're still hoping that there's no surgery in Jim's future. Is the point? So then he said to the doctor, he says, "Is this going to change my way of eating?" Well, of course the doctor's going to say yes. And of course we know the answer is yes, but I think Jim had to hear it from a doctor. So I told him, I said, well, this will be good because when you get home, we'll both be on a healthy eating plan, and it'll be easier for me because we'll both be following the same plan. And you're just going to have to learn to like things that you don't necessarily think you like. Because we had this discussion yesterday in the hospital because when he was a child, he threw up one time when he ate broccoli. So in his mind, when he threw up when he was a child with the broccoli, he doesn't like broccoli. He has not had broccoli since he was a child. Well, he can't get past the smell, and I understand that. Maybe that's one of the reasons I can't eat gamey meat, is because I just can't get past the smell. Although I do admit that I've tried it. I don't like it, but I have tried it. But I told him, I said, maybe not broccoli, and I know you don't like greens, but, maybe some green beans, He likes salad. Maybe we could incorporate salads a little bit more into our diet. When I say ours, I mean Jim's, because I do eat salad. And I told him, I said, you eat way, way, way too much lunch meat. So you're going to have to stop eating the lunch meat because, it's just not healthy for you. And he says, you know what? I agree. He said, I'm hoping that when I leave here, I'm going to lose some weight. Well, he hasn't really eaten since, in 8 days. So I'm sure he's lost some weight. Although, with those IV bags they put on you, you tend to gain weight with that because they're putting, fluids into you, and it's like I think there's sodium in it to kind of, replenish you so you don't dehydrate. But I think it took a scare like this to get Jim really thinking about his diet, and it shouldn't have come to this. But I'm glad that he's at least considering that he's going to change his diet. So Jimmy and Samantha are going to go visit him tonight. I brought him some cards. He has his tablet that he could play solitaire on his tablet. But sometimes I think it's just the mere act of turning the cards yourself. I know it's the same game. I understand all that, but I think it makes it feel like time is passing a little bit quicker than just doing it on a computer. So I brought him some cards, so maybe we'll play some cards today. Just Jim and I haven't had this much alone time together in a long time, and it's after 55 years of being together, like we can finish each other's sentences. We know what each other's thinking. And, but it's nice just to sit with somebody and be comfortable with them. And just know that you don't have to carry a conversation on, like Jim and I love each other so much, but it's really hard for me when I'm going to bed at night. Now Jim and I never went to bed at the same time. Oh, geez, where am I going? Oh, thank God. I'm getting rattling on here, but I am going the speed limit. I just got passed on the side here by a police car. I'm thinking, oh, is he pulling in front of me to pull me over? Because I have a heavy foot. Especially when I don't like driving and I want to get to where I'm going. I do tend to drive a little bit faster. But thankfully, I was going the speed limit. I have only gotten 2 speeding tickets in my life. One I did not deserve, and one I did deserve. But the one I did deserve kind of somewhat wasn't my fault because I didn't see, I was going a different route home, and I didn't see that it was a speed trap zone. And so I was still going over the speed limit because I thought it was 35 and I was going 40, but it was 25. So I did get a ticket for that, and I thoroughly deserved that. But the other one, I was like 16 and I was driving home. I just got my license, and maybe I was going a little bit over, but I was not speeding in any sense of the word. And when the policeman put his little signal on, it was just on a 2-lane road, and I didn't want him to get hurt, so I drove to the next street and pulled over. He gave me a ticket for evading. He said I should have pulled over right away. Anyway, I went to court on that. I did win that. I still had to pay the ticket for the speeding, but I didn't have to pay the evading because the judge understood that. So where was I going with this? Before that policeman so rudely interrupted my train of thought. Oh, the Jim, we're just Jim and I are very comfortable with each other, and so. But when I go to bed at night, even though I go to bed at night at different times, because Jim usually goes to bed around 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I usually go to bed around 2:30. It's just the fact that I know that I'm getting in bed with Jim, and that we're both going to wake up in the morning together, and I just kind of took that for granted. And I have a king-size bed, so it's not like, oh, well, now I got the whole bed to myself. I always had like my whole half of the bed to myself. So it was, I know TMI, but you only stay on your side of the bed unless something's happening, and then you meet in the middle, as they say, and then you go back to your own side. You retreat to your own side of the bed. But it just really has me thinking. And Jim said the same thing yesterday. He says it's just strange. Because the last thing Jim and I do every night is we kiss each other goodnight and we say, "Me, you too." Because when we were dating, we didn't want, like it was only the one phone in the kitchen, and you'd sit there and talk, and then the whole family's going back and forth. And then, especially if you got younger brothers and sisters, they like to come in and eavesdrop. And so you want to say "I love you" at the end, but you don't want to say "I love you" because you don't want your brothers and sisters going kissy kissy and all that. So Jim and I just started saying "Me, you too," which means "I love you." So every night when Jim and I, like when he goes to bed, he kisses me goodnight. He says "I love you, me, you too." We always do that, and I go "I love you, me, you too." So all of our cards that we give each other, we sign "Me, you too." It's just probably be on my gravestone, my headstone, "Me, you too." It's just. It's just something that we say. So even Jim had mentioned that. He says it's kind of hard when I go to bed at night. I mean, he calls me at night before he goes to bed, but it's just not the same. So, but I guess what I really, whoa, you're on the floor now. All right, where are you guys going? Where are you guys going? I thought I could trust you. I thought I could trust you to behave. Once again, giving me a hard time, even on the expressway, no less. Jeez, Pete. The next time you fall, you're on your own. That's because I can't be dealing with it. But anyway, did you see how dirty that floor was? My car needs it. Deep cleaning, deep cleaning for sure. I was going to talk about, I saw on Facebook this morning, before I got up, before Jim called me, I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw this quote that I used at the beginning with Herman Munster. How many people used to watch the Munsters? I just love the Munsters. But it just kind of reminded me that I'm seeing it so much now that I'm going to the hospital all the time, is the compassion people have for strangers. And on TV, I know elections are coming up in a couple of weeks, and this is not anything political. Well, it's somewhat political, but I'm not being political type of thing. But on TV, there's so much hate going on. And people, just because you don't agree with somebody else's political point of view, it's become an issue like, I can't like you because you're a Republican, I can't like you because you're a Democrat, I can't like you because you're like a libertarian or an independent. You know, if you're not what I am, I don't like you. And I wish we could go back to being compassionate again and understanding that we're not always going to agree on everything. We just aren't. And that's the beauty of our country, is that we can have different opinions. And you know what? In our country, it is like, if your guy is not elected, you've taken a vow yourself, or a pledge, like a pledge of allegiance to the flag, that even though your particular party didn't win, you're still going to abide by the rules. And if you don't like what that party's doing, then vote them out next time. You have that option. You don't have to like everything they're doing, but that doesn't mean you got to hate them either. Because when I'm in the hospital here, I see so much compassion with people helping other people. They're not asking them, well, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? I can't help you unless you're either one, because they're just there to help someone. Yesterday when I was there was this lady that, oh my gosh, she was probably about 5 foot tall, and she had to weigh over 400 pounds. And she was up in the parking lot, and she was just standing there, and I'm thinking, how is she going to get to the hospital? And I was just about ready to, pull over to tell her that they had a service, she could be driven to the door. And one of the vans did pull up and give her a ride. So they gave her a ride to the door. So I was so thankful for that. And then I parked my car at the very far end because everybody goes for tests during the week. So it was like I should count how many steps it is just to get from my car to the hospital front door, let alone to get to Jim's room. But she had picked her up, drove her around. I had to find a parking spot, found my parking spot, and got to the elevator, or got into the front of the hospital by the elevators just as this lady had got there. Now, mind you, she had a good, I would say at least a 5-minute head start on me, if not longer. At least a 5 or 7 minute head start on me. And she hadn't progressed that far. And so I had offered to push her in a wheelchair to her room that she wanted to go visit somebody. And she was so grateful and so kind, but she kind of looked at me like, I don't see a 72-year-old woman when I look in the mirror. I see somebody that's like 50. I feel like I'm about 50. So that's who I think I am. And she just kind of looked at me, and I said, and she was young. She was like probably in her late 30s, early 40s. And she just kind of looked at me like, you're an old lady. Why are you trying to help me? And so I told her, I said, I know that I'm old. I know that I get the look of like, why isn't this elderly woman trying to help me? I said, but, I feel young, and I think that I can help you. And she said, no, I really appreciate it, but once I get off the elevator, my friend is right off the elevator, so I can go visit right there. So I said, okay. So we got on the elevator and we talked. Got on the same floor, and so she went and visited her friend. Well, Jim and I had gone for a couple of walks, and we were sitting in the little lobby by the elevators. And when she was leaving, and she made a point of coming over to thank me for offering to bring a wheelchair. And so I told her once again, I said, well, let me run downstairs and get you a wheelchair and that. And she says, no, I took your suggestion, because I suggested on the elevator that she should call a nurse and have them come, or like a nurse's aide, or an orderly, to come and, I don't know if they still call them orderlies. But, and so she said, I took your suggestion, and someone's going to meet me at the end of the elevator to drive me to the thing, and then I'm going to call for a ride share. She says, I so appreciate that. I said, you're welcome. I said, because, I think there should be more kindness in the world. And it's just, you see it in the hallways when people are walking, people, they tell them that they, like they hope they get better, hope they're feeling better, and they really show them love, even though they don't know them. And so I just think that, especially nowadays, with everything going on, that we should appreciate people and really know that people are going to have different opinions for you. And, they can be taller than you, smaller than you, fatter than you, thinner than you, richer than you, poorer than you. All of that stuff. They could have a different faith, a different political view, but we're in the end result, we're all human beings in this race. And I think that a lot of times we just take things for granted. I just always took for granted that there'd be some dissension in elections, but there wouldn't be hate. I took for granted that Jim and I were going to live to be a ripe old age, and we were never going to have any health issues of any kind. That didn't happen either. I just took for granted that I would lose weight and it would come easy to me, because I was doing so well when I was losing weight, and it was coming easy for me, but not anymore. It's really I'm really struggling. I'm really trying really hard nowadays to get back on plan. And then especially now with all the stress of this, and especially now thinking that Jim might need surgery, all the more reason I have to stay strong and know that I just can't, and I have to find the good in everything. I always look at the good side of things. I always do. So I'm going to end on that, because you don't need to hear me talk for another 20 minutes or so. But the good things that I can say in life is I so appreciate that we found this early, because Jim, being Jim, could have ignored this for a very long time until it got to the point that something would have burst and we would have had to worry about having him have surgery. And he might end up having surgery, but the good news is that if it's surgery, it's just a little bit of fixing up just a small little problem, that rather than dealing with a big problem. That's my happy note that I'm going to end with on today. So, you did behave after we had that little incident. You're doing better now. But I don't have anything else to say other than, read the Herman Munster quote again and try to live your life by Herman Munster's philosophy in life, because I do think it's a good philosophy to have. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave a comment, hit the like button, share if you think somebody might like to see it. Stay safe, be healthy, be kind, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.